You have to create something that people actually want. The life cycle of innovation, the process, getting there. Put it simply, it's the ability to, as Professor said, I'm Mark Gurman. I work at Bloomberg News. I've written about Apple for 16, 17 years at this point, and have a pretty good handle on the company as well as all the other major technology companies, what they're up to, how they came to be, what they're developing, their people, etc., and really what the market is looking for in terms of innovation. And so, Professor and I thought it would be a good idea to take a look at my perception of innovation, the perception of companies on innovation, what Wall Street thinks of innovation, and most importantly, what the customer thinks of innovation. And I've gathered these details and everything I'm going to talk about over my many years of experience. So I hope that this gives you a pretty good idea for your own future projects. So innovation to market, turning ideas into impact. And if it's okay, I will take questions at the conclusion of the presentation. So diving in, what is innovation to me, to Wall Street, and to users? I think, put it simply, it's the ability to transform something imaginative, something novel, something new, something truly useful into something that people find real world value in. It's really where creativity meets execution. That's to me. To Wall Street, innovation is something that drives revenue, the stock price going up, profit. To Main Street, that's us, that's consumers, that's people. Improvements in our daily life, more convenience, greater access. Prime example is the iPhone 20 years ago. It put convenience and web browsing and apps in our pockets. And how does innovation get measured, right? Like I talked about for Wall Street, it's revenue share. It's how much money are these companies making. It's also speed to market. A lot of times companies are judged on how quickly products come to market. And then we get into the whole idea of development timelines and why that's so interesting. And of course, it's the impact on customer satisfaction. How are people's lives being made better or different, or in some cases worse? You don't obviously want to be in that category. And what does that mean for brand perception? If you think of different companies, you think of different people in CEOs, they are often perceived by how meaningful the new products and changes are that they're bringing to market. Now, what does it take to be innovative? Here are the main facets that I believe. One is curiosity. It's understanding what's in the market, what is defining things right now, and challenging those assumptions and asking, why does it not work this way? Why does it work that way? How could things be different? There's also the notion of courage, taking risks before consensus forms. And I think some key attributes to courage are things like the original MacBook Air back in 2008, where they removed the optical drive. Remember putting in disks into your computer, right? Apple was very early on that. Eventually, the consensus formed, and everyone got rid of that. Other examples are phones like the Motorola Razr many, many years ago, if you remember that, maybe before some of your time. And the idea there was making a super slim premium phone, and then eventually the whole smartphone industry moved towards slim and premium. Right? There's also the idea of cross-discipline collaboration. Innovation typically happens at the intersection. It's not enough to have a great hardware design. You also have to have a great software. You also have to have a great ecosystem. You also have to have great manufacturing, great quality, great marketing strategy, right? One component of the process is never enough. And then what oftentimes happens during these exercises is failures, false starts, development snags, development challenges, and you have to often be persistent enough to break through those. Now, the life cycle of innovation, the process, getting there, obviously is very important. There's the ideation phase, which is understanding the needs that are unmet and understanding what technologies are either available today or available on your timeline to be able to make those things happen. Then you obviously move into the iteration phase, the testing phase, the prototyping phase. The development phase, understanding what the products are, understanding how they work, and understanding how that could be put together. And that includes the engineering processing, coming up with marketing campaigns, understanding how to build these things. And then obviously there's commercialization, which is actually bringing the product to market, scaling production, and then there's maturity, incremental improvement, and ecosystem building. Prime example of that is something like the iPhone again. You have the first iPhone, then over time you have different iterations. Now the iPhone is an extraordinary mature product, probably one of the most mature consumer gadgets on the market today, believe it or not. You have so many different types of iPhones. You have so many different marketing campaigns. You have so many different accessories and what have you. So there are many different components to how a category matures. The problem that many companies are facing right now is what I call the renewal category, reinvention before stagnation sets in. This is not something that Apple has been able to do effectively recent years. In the Steve Jobs era, if you may remember this maybe before many of your times, there was the iPod mini. That was super successful. They killed it, reinvented it into the iPod Nano. Lately, they've not done much reinvention or killing of their own products in favor to bring new things to market, but it's a very important component of innovation. Part of that is also sustaining innovation. It comes down to the way you allow people to collaborate, right? Constructive dissent. These things are very important. Fostering an open environment. Leadership, allowing creatives to really understand that they have a place, that they belong, that they are able to have ideas. Ideas are very sensitive, and you don't want those to get crushed too early on. One example of a company that didn't succeed at that is Kodak. They invented digital photography, but got destroyed by the smartphone revolution. A good example is Apple. They've reinvented multiple categories. But to my earlier point, they're sort of inching to that place you don't want to be where they're not reinventing themselves quick enough. And I think the prime example of that is artificial intelligence and AI, where OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, Meta, they're out inventing Apple by moving to this new AI era. Where does innovation come from? Well, many of you in this room may want to do a startup, right? That entails speed, going fast and breaking things, creating new ideas. And the reason startups can create new ideas is because they're not tied down to the past. Large companies, it's more difficult, right? You do have advantages like brand leverage, marketing, ecosystem, scale, distribution, manufacturing prowess. But oftentimes, innovation in companies is created by M&A, buying a startup that broke things, moved fast, and created new ideas because they were unconstrained by legacy. There's also partnerships. Obviously, Microsoft OpenAI, that deal helped Microsoft a lot from a financial standpoint, but also helped them a lot from an AI development standpoint. Has Apple lost its ability to innovate? This is a pretty key question. I think on one hand, the chips and the latest Macs, driving sales, fixing a problem. The Intel Macs were not very good. The Vision Pro, they really went full throttle on this mixed reality category. Wearables, fine, right? People like their Apple Watches. The health stuff is still early. Their AI initiatives are pretty terrible. But you really see them moving from disruptor to refiner and integrator. And that's not necessarily where you want to be. You want to be in a place where you're constantly innovating and creating new and then refining on those ideas. But what we've seen are fewer new areas from them. Now, metrics are so important because at the end of the day, it's that innovation that creates shareholder value and creates more profit for the companies so they can reinvest in the company and create those new categories. So Wall Street obviously is looking for revenue growth, profit, the creation of new categories. What users, though, want is even more important, which is usability, value, and really enjoying the things that you're using. You've always heard of people falling in love with their car or their music player or their TV or whatnot. That's very important. And the bridging the gap, which is being in the middle, in the center of Wall Street and Main Street, is something that Apple had been really good at for many years. And before them, companies like Sony and these days Nintendo with the Switch are key players there, and many of the European car companies and Tesla to some extent, is being able to translate very highly technical specifications and products and making it so the consumer can truly understand it. And that is really where innovation lies, is being able to hit the metrics that Wall Street wants by creating something that consumers understand and really enjoy. And so my advice to you is to really understand real problems, learn how to not only create the solution to that product, but how to express that solution in a unique way. You have to balance your vision and your desires with execution. So things like marketing, go-to-market strategy. Don't be afraid to iterate very quickly, right? Apple at a time was innovating and iterating on the iPods every 6 to 12 months. Move quick. And innovation isn't invention. It's not enough to create something entirely new. It's creating something entirely new that people like. It's about creating something entirely new that fixes a problem. And most importantly, creating something entirely new that people want. Because there have been so many examples of creating something entirely new, maybe things like virtual reality, that maybe it's interesting, but people don't necessarily want it. So that is what I would like to leave you with. You have to create something that people actually want, because at that point, you're going right in the middle, like I talked about, bridging the gap between mainstream and Wall Street. So with that, I'd be thrilled to answer any questions you may have.
Whether you're students, whether you're professional, whether you're a senior executive, we need both hard skill and the soft skills to make us successful. Mm-hmm. I oftentimes say that hard skill get you the job, but soft skill take you to the top. It's about a time to focus on human skills, and therefore, we can create a more balanced and coexist a better world.
Hey, Mark. My name is Gaijin. I saw that you covered an article about Apple's new innovative Meta light glasses, and you said that people aren't necessarily looking for augmented reality, but it seems like everything's kind of pushing towards that way, kind of like Ready Player One. When do you think would be a good time for like people to make more things for augmented reality, or maybe like a bodysuit or something that they can like interact more with like their computer without having to use a computer, so to speak?
So my take is actually that people don't want virtual reality. Remember how I talked about it's very important to bridge the gap between Main Street and Wall Street? Wall Street may like virtual reality because it's a new category and it's cool and nifty and whatever, makes a good demo, but it's not selling. And mainstream might find it cool, but it's not interesting to most people because it's too immersive and all-encompassing in a very enclosed environment. People want to be using things that they could use and interact with the real world. Good example is the laptop. All of you on your laptops, probably on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, but at the same time, you're able to take in this conversation that we're having. If you were in a VR headset right now instead of on your laptop, you probably wouldn't be able to do two things at once. People want things that they can multitask with. So I would say augmented reality is actually the solution to that. I've been trying out these Meta glasses the last couple of weeks, and you can very much use these glasses while staying pretty rooted in the real world. The problem with augmented reality is that the technology for this to take off in a mainstream type of way is still many years away, probably at least 5 to 10 years from something with the fidelity of virtual reality at the cost and efficiency of augmented reality.
All right, thank you.
You got it.
How you doing? I'm Vincent Sharp. Nice to meet you, Mark. I had two
Hey,
questions.
Vincent.
My first question is, out of like the major AI companies, which one would you say do you think is innovating the best?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, the thing with innovation, again, it's wanting to meet in the middle. It's wanting to do things for Wall Street that are exciting in terms of financials, but also wanting to do things that are exciting to the customer. So if you just look at it from a customer point of view, it's very much clearly OpenAI, right? OpenAI, you've seen Sora, which I think is terrifying, but they are making interesting consumer products. From a revenue standpoint, they're also starting to make some returns. They have a great business focus, but from a profit standpoint, it's not so strong. Their margins are very low. They're burning billions of dollars. It's basically great on revenue, terrible on profit. And so really, if you look at trying to bridge the gap, I think Google is doing a fantastic job because the underlying business is very sound and very strong, and the technology and the consumer product they have is actually pretty good as well. So I would say somewhere between OpenAI and Google.
Okay, and then just real quick, my second question would be, could you see a world where a type of glasses that would have like AI built in them due to context engineering could outpace the iPhone?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there will be a time where the form factor shifts, not for the phone to go away, but for most people to use the glasses for their day-to-day content consumption, day-to-day communication, fitness tracking, and what have you. It's like maybe 10, 15 years ago, the laptop was the center of everything. But these days, the phone is the center of everything, and the laptop is used for specialized tasks. Soon, the phone will be used for more specialized tasks and fewer tasks throughout the day, and you'll be doing more on the glasses. It's just a matter of time, I say.
All right, it was nice to meet you.
Thanks. Likewise.
Hi, Mark. Thank you for the presentation. I'm Claire. I have a quick question. So how do you know that the market doesn't have the need, or is it just the product that's not good enough? So let's say, for example, if it's like in VR or AI, how do we know that people actually don't want VR, or is it just that the VR now is not good enough?
Well, depends on the situation. So I'll take the VR example first. The VR example, when this is really something tried and true. VR has been around for, 20 years, 30 years at some point in some instances, and it's very niche early stages. And it's been proven with sales, it's been proven in adoption, it's been proven in use cases that VR remains something very niche. VR is interesting if you're on an airplane by yourself, or if you live alone, or you're in certain specialized environments. But once you take that thing home and you have a family, you have kids, you have responsibilities where you need to be rooted in the real world, which is, I would say, 99% of people, it's very difficult to use and make part of your life. That's why the glasses, the phone, etc., are so interesting because you're not fully enclosed in some outer space environment. You're rooted in reality at the same time. So that's VR. VR has been proven. And so as an innovator, you oftentimes have to bring things to market and try things. So when VR was developed, I think it was very obvious it has some very cool use cases. There are some very cool technologies that are interesting to people. There are some cool applications in film. There is a place for VR, but consumers have shown that it's not going to be some sort of mass hit. There have been other products that people have brought to market. For instance, there was this startup called Humane that made this AI pin where you can project with a laser onto your hand and use that as a phone replacement. Where it was pretty obvious before that thing was even announced that it would be a complete failure or a dud. So sometimes you have to use your gut to understand maybe people want this. That includes doing market research or just being someone who really thinks about these things. It's kind of obvious that wasn't going to be a success. Other times it actually requires bringing things to market to actually test out their reception on a mass scale. So I would say you have to have an understanding of your customer base, but more importantly, having an understanding of the world and what people's expectations are and how people want to live their lives. And I think glasses are so interesting for that reason. Hundreds of millions of people wear glasses already, obviously not augmented reality glasses. So clearly there's a market for people wearing things on their face or their head. And it's pretty obvious that the technology still keeps you rooted.
Yeah, so I can give a brief conclusion. So is it like we have to understand the world, understand our customer, and kind of comes down to like a gut feeling ultimately to see if they actually have this need or is the technology just not there?
That's correct. And then remember my slide about iteration? You can iterate on that. So have a strong foundation and iterate. You think about it, AR is really kind of an iteration on VR, right? We understand that there are uses for these head-worn devices, but VR, all enclosed and all encompassing, is probably not a fit for most people. So what do? You make it less all encompassing, but it's still, at its very core, very similar technology stack.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Hello, Mark. My name is Julian. Thank you so much for the insightful presentation. And my question was, With innovative products, especially from a startup perspective, one of the big issues entering a new market type is early tech adoption. Is there any insights you could provide regarding speeding that process up? Because I know that's very slow for new market types and innovative products.
Well, marketing is a very key part of that, hyping things up. But before bringing the product to market, understanding if there is a market for these, for whatever you're developing, and understanding maybe there are certain demographics or certain regions that are more interested in whatever you developed and believe in. And when you're bringing said product to market, tuning your release to those demographics and markets. So at least you're going to get more feedback, you're going to get more sales, etc. from the get-go.
Okay. Thank you. And another question. In terms of the Vision Pro, I know a huge issue was manufacturing costs. Do you think manufacturing in that product space will get better and more efficient so that costs could decline over time in the next 5 years?
Oh, well, he'll tell you a couple things. I don't know as much as your professor on this, but I can tell you that Apple moves very, very quickly to reduce costs. I mean, their supply chain just becomes more efficient by the minute that products are being manufactured and on sale. They are constantly revving and iterating on products and updating products with the consumer never knowing in order to make them easier to manufacture and cheaper to manufacture. So that's happening on a very constant basis.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Mark.
Hi, Mark. My name is Aaron. I want to first thank you for your time today. And I want
course.
to ask you, I know you say you work with Apple a lot, and in recent years, I've also noticed there's been a lot of stagnation in their innovation and like ability to push the envelope forward. But I've noticed they still have so much retention among their customers, and like they still sell like iPhones at higher rates than any other phones domestically, at least. So I want to ask, what do you think is like the reason for the retention rates compared to other companies who have like lacked to innovate, like LG and like Huawei?
Status, right? iPhone in many parts of the world is a status symbol. There's the FOMO, right? Families don't want to be broken apart by some being in Android, some being in iOS. The ecosystem lock-in is huge. You do so much on your phone. You have your payment in there, you have your house key in there, you have your car key in there, you have your banking apps in there, you have all your apps, etc. It is such a pain to transfer things. So they make it so difficult to leave the ecosystem. It's basically an impossibility for most people. So they're basically retaining users at this point more and more with lock-in rather than features. At the same time, it is a really solid product, right? It's a good product, and people demand a good product. It continues to work well, and for most people, there's no reason to move away from it yet. Yes, we talk about all these categories where the industry will shift, where things will move, whether it's smart glasses or smart whatever or something else, but no one's done it yet. And so until that part happens with the huge ecosystem and lock-in, Apple's going to do great.
Okay, and then I had another question. Do you think like I know they were asking earlier about like the push towards like AR kind of reality. Do you think Apple will eventually make the push where like the flagship stops becoming the iPhone and it becomes something related to like vision or like some kind of glasses technology?
I think there will be a future for Apple after the iPhone. Am I certain that it's going to be a glasses form factor? No, but pretty sure. And I think they're pretty sure too. That's why they're investing so much money in it. You've seen Apple move from being the Mac company to the iPod company to the iPhone company, right? There is going to be another XYZ company after the iPhone company for Apple.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You got it, man.
Oh, yo, I'm back. I just have one more question for you. Kind of like
Of
on
course.
the serious side. I wanted to ask about your life as a journalist for Apple. I mean, do they let you like use all their new products for free, or do they pay you to do that?
I don't work for Apple. I work for Bloomberg. I cover Apple, and I don't get paid by Apple. What I do is test all the products and use all the products to have a very good understanding of the market and the ecosystem. I try all the competing products as well, and I'm pretty ingrained in all of the up and coming and current tech products, and I have been for a very long time. So my opinions and viewpoints are certainly rendered with a lot of real world experience and research.
Okay. It was just a curiosity because I had some interest in journalism, and I'd be like, oh, that'd be so cool if they just like gave me a bunch of free products so I could just like play around with them. But I guess not. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. I'm so impressed by this list of questions and students coming up and no nonstop. So I have a question for you.
Of course.
If you were to name a few companies you think it will turns out to be like the most innovative company in the next 5-10 years, I mean, what are those companies?
Oh, I think OpenAI is very high at the top of the list. I think Anthropic is very high on the top of the list. I think they're riding this wave and this revolution right now. I like a lot of what I'm seeing from Meta. I like a lot of what I'm seeing from Amazon hardware. We've talked a lot about Apple. We've said a lot of positive things. We said a lot of not so positive things. But to the point of one of your students, the ecosystem lock-in is real, and people just keep buying the phones. People aren't abandoning them for other companies, and so Apple has so much opportunity to be a massive innovator again, and I would be shocked if they weren't. So keep them in your thoughts because they're going to do great.
Wow. Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you.